I wanted to test this tool for a while because I already tested Opus Clip, Nexus Clips, and a few other smaller AI clipping tools, and WayInVideo was on my list anyway. But what finally pushed me to do it was one video from Daniel Tech and Data. And I don't want to make this whole review personal, because the problem is bigger than one channel. This is the pattern I keep seeing on many channels in the creator industry. They quickly run through the functionality, often without really testing anything. They rarely talk seriously about the weak parts, and the whole thing feels like it's built around pushing people toward the link. Affiliate links are not the problem, but a feature list is not a review. So let's call it what it is, a typical funnel to the product. And if you're tired of these biased AI tool reviews where everything somehow sounds positive and nothing really gets tested, stay with me. I'm going to actually test the tool and not just read the buttons out loud. Before even opening their website, I first wanted to see what people were actually saying about WayInVideo, because with AI tools it's useful to check the outside noise before you touch the product. And honestly, there wasn't much. There are some YouTube videos, but most of what I found felt like the same affiliate-style walkthrough. I also didn't find much useful public discussion around it. Trustpilot is basically empty, and on Reddit there is almost nothing meaningful about the clipping tool itself. What appears more often is their Chrome extension, which works more like a YouTube summarizer. I also think their referral system may partly explain why there is not that much affiliate noise around WayInVideo. From what I saw, they don't really pay you for bringing new clients. It's more like a reward system. When a tool pays real money, YouTube suddenly becomes full of very excited, honest reviews. But when the reward is just internal credits for another AI clipping tool, suddenly the internet gets much quieter. I checked how they present the product on the website, and to be fair, WayInVideo's main website is not as annoying as many AI tools. It doesn't scream "go viral overnight," it doesn't throw fake-looking testimonials in your face, and it doesn't constantly push this whole 10 times your growth creator fantasy. Most of the landing page just explains what the tool does. At the same time, I don't know if this is an honest minimal strategy, or if they simply don't have the same marketing budget as bigger competitors. So I can give them some credit for not overhyping the homepage, but I don't want to romanticize it too much. They also have side tools on the website, like the same summarizer and an AI thumbnail maker. They call it a free, but when you actually use it, every generation spends credits, and honestly, not a tiny amount. It's a credit-based tool with a free label slapped on the landing page. And in practice, it feels like a pretty dishonest way to catch search traffic from people looking for a free thumbnail maker. They also have a separate AI video generator. At this point, every platform feels like it has to shove one somewhere. From a quick look, their prices for some popular models felt overpriced to me. I don't really see these as serious separate products. They feel more like entry points into the main platform. Their blog also looks very search optimized. Best alternative to Opus Clip, best alternative to Clap, basically best alternative to everything that already has search traffic. One thing you notice quite early is API access, and I understand why they put it there. Opus Clip also had an API, and in my Opus Clip review, I didn't say a word about it, because for a normal creator, this usually doesn't matter. But right now, with all the hype around Claude, automation hysteria, and this whole profitable content factory fantasy, API is worth mentioning. At first, WayInVideo looks pretty cheap, especially if you look at the standard plan. You see the big discount, the limited time offer, and it feels like maybe this is a good deal. But first of all, that discount is for the yearly plan, not the monthly plan. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend buying a yearly subscription to any AI tool before you test the thing properly. I already had people in the comments saying they bought a yearly plan for some tool and now they regret it. For this review, I used the standard plan. Pro gives you more credits, larger uploads, better export quality, and some workflow upgrades. But for what I'm testing here, the standard plan should be enough. If the clipping is weak, Pro features won't save it. And then we get to credits. This is where the pricing starts looking less friendly. When you actually use it, you realize the subscription is only the entrance fee. Almost every meaningful AI action costs credits. Basically, every move, every test, every small experiment. I felt this very quickly. I didn't test some crazy number of videos, a few shorter ones, one podcast around an hour, and then, after basically one serious request with a 5-hour stream, a huge chunk of credits was gone. If volume is part of your workflow, the math gets ugly fast. I also didn't find a project refund option like I remember seeing in Opus Clip Pro. And there doesn't seem to be a normal subscription refund either. Maybe you can try to contact support, but I would be careful here, especially because their terms look pretty strict about refunds. And for a credit-based product, I also wish the credit counter was more visible. You can upload a file, paste a link from various platforms including YouTube, or connect Google Drive. During upload, it asks what you want to do with the video and shows you all the possible features. I don't really understand why. because in the end, everything leads to the editor anyway. Sure, maybe they are just being very caring and don't want you to waste extra credits, so they let you choose only what you need. But honestly, it feels more like another flex with feature buttons. By default, AI clipping uses something like a preset called viral moments. So if you call it viral moments, I'm going to judge it by that promise. Every time I see another virality score, my first reaction is not excitement. You get titles, descriptions, hashtags, and a score breakdown. It creates this feeling that something smart happened, like the tool deeply analyzed your content and gave you an objective number. But the more I tested it, the harder it was to understand what this number actually means. The clearest example for me was when I had basically the same moment, the same idea, almost the same clip, but found through different keywords. In one search, it gets something like 92 out of 100, and in another, it gets around 60. So what is this number actually measuring? Maybe for some storytelling or talking head content, this score can help a little bit in theory. If one part has a clear thought and another part is just random words, maybe the tool can push you toward the cleaner thought. Use the virality score as a rough signal if you want, but don't treat it like truth. Titles, descriptions, and hashtags are another problem, and I should separate them a little bit because the description is not really a usable social caption. It feels more like a technical interpretation of what the model thinks it sees in the clip. The titles are usually connected to what is being said, so it's not completely random. But even when it gets the topic, it often feels like the title is written only from this small selected fragment, not from the full context of the video. And separately, the titles often have this ugly AI clickbait feeling. They can turn normal ideas into something that sounds cheaper than it should. The tool also seems to rely too much on visual detection. It sees something in the frame and sometimes treats that as important, even if it has nothing to do with the actual point. You can edit the title, description, and tags inside the editor, which is useful if you want to publish directly from the platform. But if I have to rewrite the important parts anyway, then again, it's just a weak draft, not a finished result. Now the main thing, the clips. This is where all these tools live or die. And unfortunately, WayInVideo has the same problem I saw with other platforms in this whole category. It finds areas not ready to post clips, and this is the key difference. Sometimes it starts too early, ends too early, or includes another part of the video that doesn't belong there. It finds something near the moment, but with most clips, you still have to go in and fix it. Even with my more structured videos, where I had clearer sections and even chapters, most of the clips still weren't ready to use right away. So this is a rough first pass. It points you somewhere near the useful moment, but it doesn't give you a finished clip. Streams feel much harder for WayInVideo than structured videos. If it struggles to cut structured videos properly, what do we expect from a 5-hour chaotic stream? Maybe it helps reduce 5 hours into possible areas, but there will still be a huge amount of trash. Find moments is also mixed. If you know exactly what you are looking for, it can sometimes help. You search for a topic, a phrase, or maybe even a visual thing, and it can pull the right area. That can be useful if you work with someone else's material and you don't want to watch everything manually. To be fair, sometimes it works pretty well, and in some cases it felt better than other platforms because it didn't pull a huge pile of completely random garbage. But it still doesn't work perfectly. Sometimes it finds the right area but cuts it very badly. Sometimes it gives you strange short fragments just a few seconds long that don't really work as clips. And from time to time, irrelevant clips still appear. So again, it can help you find something, but it does not finish the job. The editor works, and that is the honest answer. You can do basic editing, change layouts, work with the transcript, add text, use built-in media for B-roll, add stock music, or upload your own assets. I actually like that you can add GIFs and your own assets because if you have a boring talking head clip, this can help break it up a little. So technically, yes, this is a small editor, but after working in real editing software, it feels limited and not very pleasant. If you know how to edit, WayInVideo feels like a place where you fix AI mistakes with weaker tools, and that is not exciting. By default, clips stay 16:9. If you want vertical, you need to change the format and choose a layout. Auto reframe can help, but with already edited videos, with B-roll cuts and visual changes, it felt weaker than Opus Clip to me. The tool adds its own logic on top of your edit and doesn't always respect the original cut points. Sometimes it is off by just enough to look cheap. You get a tiny leftover from the previous shot, almost like a micro frame before the layout changes. A tiny wrong frame can make the whole clip feel unfinished, and the more annoying part is that the auto reframe logic looks editable. You see these layout segments on the timeline like an overlay, but if the timing is off, you can't just drag the edge and fix it. You have to cut the video again and assign the layout manually. So it looks flexible, but in practice it adds another annoying little workaround. One small thing I liked is the safe area overlay. When you switch to vertical, it shows the safe areas for TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Basically, the parts where app interface elements can cover your video. With captions, it's pretty straightforward. You have styles, fonts, colors, background, outline, and basic customization. For normal short-form output, it's okay. You can make them look somewhat different, although you can't upload custom fonts. But I can't pretend captions are some special feature anymore because almost every editing app does captions now. Even free tools do captions because captions are a good way to pull people into a product. You can add automatic stock or AI B-roll, or you can add it manually. You can also generate AI images for your B-roll yourself. This part looked a bit better to me than what I saw in Opus Clip at the time, but models change all the time, so I don't want to make a permanent claim here. If you recorded a simple talking head video and want to make it less visually dead, automatic B-roll can help, but better looking filler is still filler. It can decorate the clip, but it doesn't always support the point. There is also an AI hook feature. Opus Clip had something similar, and honestly, I still don't really understand who this is for. It basically takes a title or a hook and adds it into the clip with a pretty weak AI voice. Maybe there is an audience for it, but for normal creator content, this instantly makes the clip feel cheaper. Clean audio works surprisingly well. I uploaded a video where the voice was recorded just on a phone. The sound had some noise and a bit of echo, and this feature made it more usable. I'm not saying it will save completely destroyed audio, but for some noise, echo, and rough phone sound, it can help. Remove filler words was strange. In Opus Clip, it worked automatically, but often made unpleasant cuts. In WayInVideo, in the videos I tested, it found basically nothing. 0 filler words detected, even in podcasts or stream material. Maybe it has a very narrow definition of filler words. Maybe my test files were not messy enough. With remove silences, I like that you can define what counts as silence by duration. That matters because not every pause is dead space. Sometimes a pause is timing. So I like having that control more than just pressing one magic button and hoping the tool doesn't destroy the rhythm. But again, these are not some crazy game-changing features, especially for already finished videos. If you have rough material though, then yes, they can help a little. Exports are saved separately and edited projects are organized into different folders, so that part is convenient. But projects don't stay there forever. From what I saw, Standard keeps them for 15 days and Pro for 30. Yes, server storage costs money, but from a workflow point of view, it's still annoying. Sometimes you want to come back later, rebuild something, reuse a piece, or export another version. In a normal editing workflow, if you keep your files locally, you can return to the project whenever you want, even a year later. But this is where I start asking the bigger question. Why would anyone actually want to stay here or come back to this workflow? For complete beginners, I can see the use case. If you don't want to learn a real editor, you record simple talking head videos, and you just need captions, a few cuts, some B-roll, export, and auto-publishing, then yes, WayInVideo can help you make something instead of nothing. But it can also keep you inside a very limited workflow. And in the long run, I think that can limit how you grow as a creator. For editors, I don't really see the point. It feels like extra work in a weak tool. If you have to fix the clips manually and correct the timing anyway, then why not do it in a real editor in a timeline that actually feels good? For high-volume workflows like podcasts, streams, and clipping, I would be very careful. Honestly, maybe it's better to avoid it. You still need to do a lot of manual work anyway. Credits can burn fast and the economics may not make sense unless you are very sure your clips will perform. For myself, I see too many small frictions, too many little moments where I don't trust the tool but I'm still trapped inside its workflow, repairing things that should not be broken in the first place. WayInVideo is definitely not some miracle tool, but it is not useless either. It is more like a rough assistant, sometimes very annoying, sometimes not so bad. But in the end, I don't think it gives you any serious boost because unfortunately, you still have to do the real work yourself.